On This Live Life Well, we're talking to Dr. Jennifer Baker.
Yes.
And we're talking about gambling, which has been in the news quite a bit because people can now bet. They can bet on their phone, on their computer, or they can go in person in Missouri now.
Right.
And we're talking about how to get help when you feel like you've dug yourself kind of in a hole here.
Wow.
And that's a big, important topic that we're hearing more about.
Well, one of the things that we know about is that people who have a lot of gambling debt, not surprisingly, may become more suicidal. And because we know that suicide thoughts are associated with feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, then the further you get yourself in, the harder it is to get out, and people tend to feel more helpless at that point. There's always, I can see at the bottom of the little ads for gambling, there's always a 1-800 number. I would suggest you call that if you're feeling helpless and hopeless, but yeah.
If you, okay, let's say you're in this particular situation and you've dug yourself a financial hole.
Right.
How would you suggest, if people are having these suicidal thoughts, how would you suggest they address that internally? Is it a matter of you're stuck in a moment and people are there to help you, or something else?
Well, okay, I think we have to understand a little bit about addiction because, for instance, not everyone who drinks alcohol becomes addicted to it. It's maybe about 10% of the population. Why is that? Well, because they have a gene that metabolizes that different. However, also with addiction, whether it's something with a sexual addiction or, gosh, you could have shopping. People have talked about online, being on their social media addiction, scrolling, etc. Whenever we do something that gives us a little charge of dopamine, serotonin, that's what happens. And then we want that feeling, and so we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again. And that's the problem with gambling, is that at some point they won, and then there's that feeling like I can just do that. Like some people can walk away. They say, I'm going to spend $300, that's all I'm going to spend, and then I'm done. But, for people who had a gambling addiction when they could be locked out of a casino, like sometimes that could happen. But online, it's ever present to you. You really do need to get help. You're probably not going to get out of that yourself. You need to talk to someone. You need to go to Gamblers Anonymous. You need additional help because that dynamic is very rarely interrupted on your own.
What is the research saying, about, have we seen this uptick in people who are considering suicide because of gambling?
Yes, we are seeing an uptick in suicidal ideation and thoughts as a result of gambling. That shouldn't surprise us, really. What we don't know for sure is if gambling online is actually more potent than gambling, because it's quicker than gambling in a casino. That there's word is still out on that, but they're looking at that because if certain games are more addictive than others, that would be, I guess it would be a little bit like if you're going to get drunk, you could do it quicker on whiskey than you could on light beer. You would have to drink more beer to get drunk.
Yeah, I understand.
But both would do it.
Yeah.
All right, so they're just not really sure yet if certain games are more addictive. They think they might be because you can do them quicker.
How do you help someone in this situation who is, they're getting the thrill?
Yeah.
And it's fun. But they've been, say, irresponsible with their finances. I mean, what's the first thing you can do, not as a professional, maybe as a friend? If you're a friend of them and you know that they're going through a hard time,
right?
What would you say to them to get them to a professional? The friend isn't going to be able to to help them the way someone like you would be able to help them.
Right. Well, I think you want to look at some things. They have experienced some negative consequences as a result of their gambling. Are they keeping this secret from their partner, for instance, that they owe $40,000? When they start, do they just never seem to be able to stop? Do they lose money they really can't afford to lose? Those kinds of things are pretty serious indications that you have a problem. Because why would you continue doing something that is hurting you? Well, that's the nature of an addiction. It's kind of like your brain keeps telling you, do it again, even though you're hurting yourself with it.
Yeah. Does the friend say, hey, Bob or John or Tom, I'm noticing these things.
Sure,
I think you should reach out for help, or is that the wrong way to approach it?
Oh no, I think that's a great thing to do, but realize that your friend may be irritable if you ask them about it. Just like if your friend drinks too much, that they might be irritable if you say, I think you've had enough. Because the problem is, once you start down that path, your brain's in kind of a different place and it doesn't think clearly.
Yeah.
Now, in the cold light of day, before you ever go to the casino or before you ever go online, you might be thinking, oh, I can't do that. Now, because I owe too much money. But once you get caught up in that, then, you get the hits in the brain chemistry, and it's very hard to turn back on that. So you really have to stay away from it altogether. Not everybody, but the people who are experiencing negative impact of that, you might need some help to do that.
So this is why you see those lists that you can put yourself on.
Yes.
And the casinos know you're on the list, they recognize your face, and they tell you to leave.
Right.
Because you've put yourself on that
Because
list.
you've put yourself on that list. There are just so many more opportunities now for people to do harm to themselves in that way.
To get around the list
Right.
that they've self-imposed.
To get around, yeah. And
Yeah.
okay, let's look at the fact that also, are some people more predisposed? Well, if you were feeling some depression of some sort, maybe just moderate, I mean, it's not, other people may not know that you're, I always say it's like looking at the world through gray colored glasses. You feel a little blah. And you go to the casino and you win. It's like getting a buzz. I mean, that's exciting. And if you need that money, you may want to go back. And you're chasing that feeling. And of course, if you're in debt, then you're chasing the money. Again, some people can say, hey, I'm only going to spend so much, and they're done. And that's not a problem for them at all. But other people can't stop. And if they can't stop, and if they're experiencing negative consequences, then they should never start.
Yeah. Is it kind of like you're talking about, is it kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous? Do you have is a group setting a way to go to talk to other people about this? I know AA has kind of a semi-secret, we've learned a lot about it over the years, but semi-secret path to helping people stay sober.
Well, what I think is one of the best things about AA and any 12-step group, because I'm assuming the Gamblers Anonymous is also 12-step, is that you first admit that you're powerless over this, like you can't control it. But you're sitting in a room with other people who have the same problem, so they get it. And they're also, if you have some silly ideas about like, well, if I only gamble with, quarters or something, they're going to call you out on that because they also have told themselves those same mind games. Probably most important is that there are other people who can provide support to you when you're feeling weak. When you're feeling like, I'm afraid I'm going to go and spend money I don't have.
For a professional like you,
Yes.
unlike someone like me,
Yeah.
who listens to you and learns quite a bit, but I'm not a professional, so I wouldn't be equipped to help someone through a situation like this. What are some of the things that you do? Is it that very first step of getting the person to admit they have a problem with gambling?
And sometimes people think that's a one-time thing, but it's not. Usually the conversation is more, I want to create a little crease in the brain matter there so that they will think, well, maybe she has a point. Maybe because people don't want to admit they have a problem. Like, so usually if I'm working with someone who has a drinking problem, I would say, well, let's say you're going to a party, and how many drinks would you have at a party? Usually the person with a problem with alcohol looks at me like, well, I don't know. But most people who use alcohol responsibly would say, oh, I limit myself to 2. Or they know how much they're going to drink and they stop there. Yeah. People who have a problem with alcohol may say to now don't let me drink too much. Okay, and that's really a bad dynamic in the marriage, because now that I've had, 5 or 6 and I'm looking at you and I'm saying, hey, you've had too much, you're not one to listen to me because your brain is already under the influence. Same thing with gambling. Okay, you might say, no, don't let me spend more than, and I want to take that money, but you're going to be angry with me. You're going to be irritable with me because I want to stop something that's making you feel good in the moment. So the first thing I usually try to do is to try to help people think about, am I really in control? Because they think they're in control, but they're not in control.
So going back to this idea of a suicide and concern about that, is the message here you're not alone, you're not hopeless?
Right.
Is that kind of, as a friend, you would approach somebody if you know somebody out there who is going through some serious problems with gambling? Hey, I'm seeing this. I'm worried about you. You're not alone. Well, there's hope and there's help. Is that kind of the way to approach that?
Well, and see, I think that's the beauty of a group like Gamblers Anonymous, is because there are other people there who have hope. That's why they're there. Because they want to change their life. They know they're in a position where they can't do it on their own. That's the first step, when you admit you're powerless and that you need help from someone beyond yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think if I was seeing someone within a gambling addiction, I would say, well, see me, but you also need to be a part of a 12-step group. And also you probably need supportive friendships, because it's not like you can just stop doing this. Now you have to do something new.
That's an important point, because if your buddies are the ones who are, let's go to a game and gamble on it, or let's go to the track, or we gotta place a bet on the playoffs. Do you need to kind of disassociate from those?
Well, probably in the short term, yes, because every time you're with them, if that's a part of your conversation or something that you're going to do, it's going to be very tempting to do that just because you want to be one of them. But see, again, that's the beauty of a 12-step group, because someone else who's got the same problem can say, well, I don't think that would work for me. Every time I did this, or I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you that didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And, well, what would you do instead? I found that I needed to, and then whatever that is.
So in the case of the alcoholic, you often hear about the temptation of, I'm just going to have that one glass of wine, that one beer, and it's going to be okay. And the mindset has to be that one thing is potentially going to send me back to where I don't want to be.
That one thing is going to potentially send you back to where you don't want to be. Exactly. It's a step down that. It's a very slippery path after that. I'm not going to say that, you might not be able to maintain that for a period of time, but then the next thing you know, it's like, well, why not have 2? I think that's why most alcoholics will tell you they need to practice abstinence. That means nothing. And they actually keep a little chip that reminds them, and they can tell you how many days they've been sober. And by sober, they mean, I haven't had any alcohol at all. And I think that would be similar with other addictive behaviors. There are other addictive behaviors.
Yes, besides gambling. Yes.
But gambling, we're seeing that. And I think, we just need to be aware that when we are continuing in some behavior that is detrimental to us and hurting us, and we still don't seem to be able to stop it, we need help.
And one more thing, I've heard that people who get treatment often have relapses. They get that one more glass, that one more beer, that one more whatever alcohol of choice, if we're using that
Sure.
instead of gambling.
Yeah.
That one more bet.
Right.
It's not the end of the world. You can start over again. Is
Well,
that right?
Yeah, someone in the recovery community will tell you that relapse is part of recovery. And I think maybe that's important for them to know. Not that they're planning a relapse, because some people never relapse.
Gotcha.
But for them to know that if I relapse, that doesn't mean I can't start over again. And for family members who get all kind of worried about that, it's like, hey, sometimes people need to see that they really can't manage. Sometimes the relapse is like, this really is a problem. Having worked with people, I can tell you that I worked with people who might have been abstinent or sober from some behavior for a year, and then had a semi-relapse or a small relapse, and then said to me, I realized that I really am an addict. Like, they didn't believe it before. They stopped, but then they, in their head, their brain's lying to them and saying, you can manage this. And then they found that they couldn't. So sometimes it can be maybe the last step in recovery.
So it's not an easy journey.
No.
But if you're, I think of a pit, and you're like staring up and you're thinking, in this pit, there's no ladder, there's no help, but there is that hope that you can climb out of that pit.
Yep.
There isn't the one option of taking your own life.
No, right. That's a very poor option, because that doesn't allow you to climb out of the pit. It may take you walking down the road. There's, I can't remember the poem, but there's a poem that alcoholics use that it's like, I walk down the road, I fall in the pit, I get up out of the pit. I walk down the road, I fall in the pit. I walk down the road, I avoid the pit, and finally I walk down the road, I walk down a different road. So the idea is that it's a process. It takes time, it takes support, it takes admitting, hey, I've got an issue and I need to deal with that in a way that keeps me sober and sane and doing well in life.
Well, I hope if someone out there is dealing with an addiction, whether it's a gambling addiction or another addiction, they find some hope in our discussion today.
Yeah, me too.
I thank you for joining us
You're welcome.
on this Live Life Well.